Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jackie Phillips, and I serve as the Senior Coordinator for Student Engagement in the Department of Engagement, Leadership, and Service. We're so excited to have you here for today's session of the Student Organization Zoom series, and we'll be focusing on a culture of care, so how to promote support and well-being within your student organization. I'm very excited to have Ansley Long, one of the case managers from Student Care and Outreach, joining us today, and I'm going to pass it off to her to introduce herself and then get us started for today's discussion. Thanks, Ansley, for being here.
Yeah, Jackie, thank you so much for that introduction. I'm very excited to be here today. Given my role, I'm very passionate about helping students promote care and well-being within their organization so that people in their organization can be successful. Given my role here, but also given my passion for the student body, given that I've been here for 7 years, I am just very excited to be talking to you guys because I feel like the student organizations here, as they continue to grow, are a great place to establish community. And so I'm going to get to you talk about that today, but again, I thank you for being here and all the things that you were doing as leaders. So, as Jackie said, my name is Ansley Long. I just finished up my master's degree actually with Jackie. And so now I have an MED. I am a case manager in student care and outreach. I have been in this office for 2.5 years. This is where I did my graduate assistantship. So I have been here for a while. And I'm actually a double dog. So I have, like I said, been here for 7 years. So I graduated with my bachelor's of science in human development in 2018. So very passionate about the Bulldog Nation, very passionate about all the stuff that's going on here on campus. And I think gives me a unique perspective to speak to you all from a student perspective, but also as a staff perspective of how can you help your colleagues or your peers be better accountability partners and people in your community. So I want to hear from you all today. You are my audience. So what are you excited to learn today? What all can I speak on or maybe tie into my presentation that you all want to know as student leaders? So you can just pop that in the chat for me. Okay, yeah, so how to connect students with our office, student care and outreach, and what are some of the resources? We'll definitely hit on that. What does care look like as a student organization? Absolutely, that's very important. Like given your role as leaders, you are these people who are interacting with the students on a daily basis, and so it's very important that you can have that conversation. That's also a good one. What does balance look like between care and accountability, right? As a leader, how do you promote that care, but also keeping your peers accountable for the work that they need to do? How to acknowledge the difficulty in this semester, that's very important. How do we operate with COVID as a role? How do we operate when things are virtual? Can we really tell how people are doing? How do we check in on mental health? Things like that, really good. Any last other ones that you all are excited to learn today? Okay, great. Well, we will move on, but thank you all for participating. Just want to get a feel for the virtual room here. So a lot of students are always interested of talking about mental health. It definitely, the stigma, I think, has decreased over time. People are talking about it. People are talking about getting help. They're connecting people with resources. But what does really the data say about this? So I think that's very interesting to tie in and kind of start off our conversation today. So 1 in 5 college students, according to this study, found that they will report struggling with mental illness sometime during their college years. So even if you are not one of those 5, that probably means some of the people that you are sharing rooms with in these organization meetings are struggling with that, whether they're ready to speak up about it or not. And so always being cognizant that that's an experience that some of these students are going through is really good to have as a student leader using that perspective. And then as we look at mental health, as we kind of put a magnifying glass to it, what is some of those other stressors that may be impacting mental health or being a result of that mental health? Of course, anxiety is high. Think about UGA, it's a very competitive environment. All of you all are very smart. You got admitted to the University of Georgia. You're highly involved leaders. You want to be the best of the best. You are the best of the best. But with that comes a little bit of stress, anxiety, and feeling overwhelmed. And so, of course, it is very common for college students to feel that anxiety. But what does it look like when it becomes too much and it's no longer motivating but debilitating? Students are reporting depression. So what does that look like when you're away from home and you're, for the first time ever, you're 10 hours from home. And now because of COVID, everything is virtual and you're not able to engage with your peers. You're not able to engage with even your hallmates or your RA or go to the dining hall and meet people. That's going to make you feel very isolated and lonely, and that could lead to spots of depression. Food insecurity, this is one that has also become a kind of topic of conversation. And the good thing is that, UGA and other colleges are working to combat this, but it's still an issue and it's still on our campus. And what does that look like if I don't have access to stable food throughout my time? Can I study? Can I focus on my classes? Can I be involved on campus? Suicidal ideation, unfortunately, that's pretty high too. And what does that look like? Do we talk about that enough? Are we checking in with our friends? Are we making sure that they have the resources that they need? Are we asking questions to make sure we know what's going on? And self-harm, that's another one. Again, are we asking questions? Are we checking in with our friends? Are we seeing if they have access to any of those things that they could use to harm themselves? And are we making connections to proper mental health support for that? So just a little bit of preview of what is the data saying and how does that relate to what's going on in our organization? And so you may look at all that and say, okay, well, that's really great. And I'm super happy that you shared that data with me, but what should I do with that? Because, I don't talk to these students every day and I don't know if I'm going to know if someone's self-harming or if they are being food insecure. And I don't really know how to address that. And so my office is here to support you in that. It's here to help you make connections to our office so that we can make sure the students get connected to the resources that they need. So how you can kind of start off down that road is being knowledgeable about what's here on campus and what resources are here to help the students. Being conscious and always thinking about what behavior is a little bit out of character. What's not really adding up? Is a student all of a sudden who is super involved in wanting to volunteer for every activity suddenly not really participating or going to the Zoom meetings? Are they saying really weird, out of character stuff? Are they reaching out to their friends in the middle of the night and, saying things that just are totally out of character? Just being conscious of that and being conscious of the experiences that could be in the room or the virtual room. And then lastly, see something, say something. You maybe have been in the airport before on a train station and they come over and hey, see something, say something. If someone's stealing luggage, don't just act like that's okay. And that's the same thing here. If you see something's out of character, if you see a friend or maybe even a peer you don't know that well, acting a little bit out of character, or maybe you kind of notice that they haven't really been taking care of themselves, or they're just super involved in their studies and they haven't taken some time to step away and get some fresh air, just say something to them. And most importantly, say something to one of us, whether that's Jackie or student organization advisor or our office. Our office is always here and we're those advocates. And we would rather you over report every single time to make sure that that student's getting connected, rather than just saying, I don't really know them, so I'm just not going to worry about it. So just remember, see something, say something. So that brings me to tell you a little bit more about our office, which I'm very excited about. Our office serves as that connection point to resources for any and all students, graduate, professional, undergraduate, whoever it is, we can help them. We are here to help them navigate complex, hardship, unforeseen circumstances. Whatever it is, we can probably help. We take a very individualistic approach. That means we're never going to treat two students the exact same, because every student has a separate experience and there's different factors which are impacting you. So every student that comes into our office, we take that individualistic approach. They're going to meet with one of our case managers or assistant or associate deans. We have 5 staff members in our office. And you're going to get to meet with one of us and talk with us about what's going on and how we can specifically help you. And that's a lot to take in. And so when we realize how do we explain this office? How do we make sure students know that we're here? We made a little video. And so that's what I'm going to show you all today. Hopefully it'll kind of answer some questions and we'll go in deeper about how to connect with our office and what might benefit from that.
The amount of information and resources available on the internet is obviously limitless, right? But without a search engine, a central hub, if you will, it would be almost impossible to navigate it all. Likewise, the amount of resources available to students at the University of Georgia is massive. Most people don't even know what's available or how to best utilize them. That's part of what Student Care and Outreach is here to do, to serve as that hub for students, faculty, staff, and families. But we're way more than a search engine. You know that one friend or relative you can count on to help you solve any problem you have? The friend that knows all the right people and just seems to know how to help us strategize our way through any problem, big or small? That's what we are at Student Care and Outreach. So many people think you have to wait until you're in the middle of a mental health crisis or a horrible academic situation, and that's when you come and see us. But that's not actually the case. What we want to do is make sure you get into our office before those small challenges become big problems, because that's when we can really help.
I had a loss in a family, so everything there was going like very tragically, under stress a lot, not in control of schoolwork and all of that. I didn't know where to go or who to call. After going to my advisor, she actually took me down here to Care Outreach, where I met Carrie, and you can actually have someone to talk to openly and freely, and you leave the office feeling like all your problems are solved, basically.
My sophomore year, I got a concussion and I had to skip 2 weeks of school, and I really had no idea what to do. So I went to the Student Care and Outreach Center and I talked to Carrie. I was kind of nervous at first, but it was completely casual, normal. She just asked me how she could help me. She asked me how she could be there for me, and it really helped me get back on the right path after my concussion.
I'm from Hawkinsville, Georgia, which is a small town compared to just the University of Georgia itself. Coming here, it was a big change. I had to learn to grow up on my own, and I was really just having a lot of problems like with school and everything, focusing, and had like a lot of like personal issues that were just going on. I didn't know that there was people that would put you in touch with the right people. Once I got in touch with Student Care and everything, kind of sort of just helped me feel better to like know that there is somebody that I can go and talk to.
I found out about Student Care and Outreach through my sorority, and I really just got guidance there. I went to the office and found resources I didn't even really know I needed. And then once I was there, I actually ended up getting a job in the office, and through that I've been able to help other students connect and find resources on campus for them too.
So don't worry if your problem's too big or too small, or if you're not sure if we're even the right office to come to for what you need. Just come to Student Care and Outreach and we'll help you figure that out and get you connected to the people and places that'll help you thrive at UGA.
Okay, everyone. Sorry, I had to click those right around. So that's our commercial, kind of what we call it, which it used to tell people a little bit more about what we do. And we believe that the best people to promote what we do is students. Those are some current students, some students who have graduated, who really can speak to what happens when you come to Student Care and Outreach. Some of those situations that are kind of common that we see, just to give you a starting point as an idea, we can help with academic issues, financial situations, emotional distress, mental health concerns, the death of a family member or friend, ongoing family circumstances, so maybe a divorce in the family, or just general social issues and adjustment, getting adjusted to college, right? Like that's a pretty complex circumstance. So how can we help? And it's something that Carrie, one of my colleagues, said on the video is we want to get you connected to our office, or a student connected to our office before that situation becomes very, very intense and very hard to navigate. We want to get connected to a student early on at their time at UGA when they are having those troubles with their first year roommate, or having trouble with a family circumstance, so that we can really be their person throughout their time at UGA. We can connect them to resources. We can help them navigate these challenges. We can help them communicate with faculty. Whatever it is that they may need, they know who to come to. And so that's where you all come into play, is that you all can tell students in your organization about our office, about what we can do, so that you can really promote that caring and supportive environment within your organization, because they know that the other people in their organization, their leaders, care about well-being. So some of the ways that we do that, we provide direct support. So as I said, we're going to do connection point to resources. We're going to collaborate with faculty, staff, parents, families, whatever it is, whoever wants to be part of that conversation, we can help navigate those circumstances so that student can get the whole holistic support that they deserve. We can provide intervention, so that can be a variety of different things. Absence notifications, we notify faculty. Right now that's happening a lot with dog check, as many of you know of. If a student reports a positive test, we are going to reach out to the faculty. That's part of the policy. And so with that, our office has the ability to reach out to faculty members for a variety of other issues. So you can always come to our office if that's a concern. We respond to incidences, so if there is a natural disaster such as the earthquakes that were happening in Greece the other day, we reach out to students who are affected from those areas and see if we can provide any support to them, whether that's financial or emotional, or maybe they have some family stuff going on back at home. And then hardship withdrawals. Usually when I'm in a room, I'll say, raise your hand if you've ever heard of a hardship withdrawal. And many students do. They know exactly what we're talking about. So that's that situation where a hardship circumstance happens after the withdrawal deadline and you don't know what to do. You come to our office, we have a conversation about it, and we can navigate from there. As we work with students, we continue to gather information so that we can really build that holistic and individualized plan of support for a student. And as student leaders, if you're making that referral, that's where you come into play. You can be part of helping us gather that information. So what's that behavior that the student has been displaying? What is the concerning behavior that they have been addressing? What's the concerning statement that they put in the group meet? Whatever it is that is concerning, you can help us gather that information so we have a more holistic view when we're working with student. We really have all the stuff we need to be able to make those decisions. Then lastly, outreach. So that's why I'm here today. Our office identifies places on campus that may need a little bit of extra support, and we can do outreach there. And then we also do training for faculty, for staff, for student organizations, whoever it is, so that everyone knows where to refer, which is our office. So as I was speaking about earlier, individualized networks of support. Again, this is where you all come into play. So imagine that you have a student in your organization that starts putting very concerning things in the group meet. They're talking about that they're staying up super late to finish assignments. They're super overwhelmed with classwork. They start talking about their family's divorce and how they're having to go back and forth. There's lots of changes with their financial situation, whatever it is. So you make that referral to our office because you know this is not super normal behavior, and so you want to be able to help. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put that student in the middle of our conversation, and we're going to start to help them identify who is in their network of support. Now, because you made that referral, it's very, very likely that you would be part of that social support. Maybe you are their leader. Maybe you're a really good friend that has just walked through them with that. And then we're going to help them identify who else needs to be part of their system, their support system. So is that a connection to CAPS? Is that a connection to the Disability Resource Center because maybe they have ADHD that they were diagnosed with in high school, but they haven't gotten that proper accommodation here on campus? Maybe it's reconnecting with their academic advisor because they need to take a semester off, or reaching out to their faculty to say, hey, the student's actually not going to be able to go to in-person classes right now because of XYZ problem, whatever that is. And so as you look to connect a student with this, I share this with you so that you can kind of visualize what we're going to be doing and how you as a student leader are going to play into that important piece of connection. And so this is just kind of some of the resources that we have on campus. I think as a student leader, it's very, very vital that you know of these. So if a student asks, you know, one, you can always refer to us. We are always going to be able to help a student. Like I said, we have 3 case managers, we have 2 deans that can help us. So we are always ready to help and want to help you. But also it's just good to know this information. Sometimes you don't even know what's there to support you or to support students that you're working with. So we actually have 4 mental health.
Good afternoon and welcome to Marmion Academy's Fall Virtual Open House 2020. I'm Bill Dixon, and in my capacity here at Marmion, I serve as Director of Admissions, a proud Marmion graduate. We have quite a bit to show you this afternoon, but with all things here at Marmion, we do begin with prayer.
The YouTube video that was up next started playing.
Who's the president?
Sorry, everyone. Let me continue where I was. So UGA has 4 mental health clinics on campus. One of those is CAPS that you're very sure you're aware of. We also have one in the psychology clinic. There's also one in Adderhold, the College of Education, and there's one at the Aspire Clinic that runs out of Family and Consumer Sciences. So there is always plenty of resources, low cost sessions, things like that. We have 3 food pantries on campus, the main one being in Tate, right across from Engagement Leadership and Service, that is coordinated by UGA Greek Life. We have multiple ways for students to access professional clothing, one of those being the professional clothing closet that SGA has been working very hard on and doing a great job with. We have the hygiene pantry, which is called Bulldog Basics, and really excitingly during COVID, they were able to move all of their stuff online. So that is called the e-store, and all of that can be found on their website, which is Bulldog Basics. But you basically order the items that you need, and you can pick those up from multiple locations on campus. We have multiple emergency funds. So as we all know, during COVID, people have lost their jobs. There's been lots of changes in financial situations, maybe different scholarships or grants that maybe have been impacted. So there's multiple emergency funding options open to you. One of those being the Student Emergency Fund. There's also a Graduate Student Emergency Fund. There's different emergency funds through our office, through CAPS, through different colleges and divisions across the university. So definitely always be on the lookout for those opportunities if that's something that you need access to, or if you have someone in your community or your organization that needs access to that. Our office can be very helpful in that circumstance in referring directly to the fund that may be most applicable to the situation. So always know you can reach out to us for that. Then we also have lots of spaces that are reserved for different identities. And I know as we navigate this complex circumstances of everything going on in the world right now, with race and the election coming up, it's always important to just acknowledge that in the space, acknowledge how that can be impacting a mental health, emotional distress, financial situations. There's a lot going on. And so know that those spaces are available, and our office can make what we call a soft handoff to one of those offices. So if a student doesn't want to walk over to the LGBT Resource Center by themselves, then we can do that. We can call someone that we may know over there and walk with the student over to that space, so they might feel a little bit more comfortable going there. So know that is always an option. That's something that we really work hard to be able to do for students. And so to go back to our earlier point of what can I do, right? So you're a student leader, you've worked really hard to get to this position, you're working very, very hard and tirelessly to make sure the organization is running smoothly, but you really want to check in, you want to promote well-being and success in your organization. So start off by making connections. As a student leader, what can you do, even if you are the president or the vice president, what can you do to get to know those first year students, or maybe even for students that are in their first year of participating in your organization? They could be your same age, but have never participated in your organization before. So make those connections, especially in this environment where we're all virtual. What does it look like to engage with them over FaceTime or Zoom? Or can you meet up in person and wear your mask and social distance and grab a coffee and sit outside? That can still be safe, but give you a sense of community in this time. So take time to notice your friends. Take time to notice, is the behavior different? Is it concerning? Are they saying one thing to me, but then they're not really participating in school, and that's pretty abnormal for them. And that brings me to my next point, which is ask important questions. You can say, hey, are you okay? Or, hey, it seems as though you're making some pretty out of character statements in the group meeting that just doesn't really sit well with me. Could we have a conversation? Could we grab coffee, or can we talk over the phone sometime soon? And with that, when you have those conversations, know your resources. So, I just talked about 6 of those, but there are so many more. UGA is such a well-resourced institution. There are so many things that are here designed to help a student. There's almost no situation where we don't have a resource or multiple resources that we can refer to. And if anything happens and you don't know what to say, that's totally okay. You can refer them to our office. You can come with them here. You can call us together with that student, and we can talk through, maybe there's a resource we didn't even know that was there, and we can discover it together. Take care of yourself. So what does it look like to take care of yourself as a leader? You want to promote well-being, and the best way to do that is to model it yourself. So how do you take care of yourself? How do you balance schoolwork and your organizational involvement, your mental health, your well-being, right? This is a hard time. UGA is a tough place to succeed academically. It's a tough institution, and it's so good that you all are so involved. But what does it look like to check in on yourself, especially given that we are virtual right now, and some of your classes might look a little different. They might demand a little bit more from you. So what does it look like to check in with yourself so you are really being the role model for that behavior? Also remember that any of the things I've talked about today, you are able to access as well. So please talk to us about student care. Like, come talk to student care and outreach. What's going on with you? Every single time that I give this presentation, I have students who are like, hey, I'm a student leader and I do really want to refer someone here, but actually I just like need something too. Or like, I want to refer someone in my organization, but I just want to know what it would be like. Okay, cool. Like, let's have a conversation. Like, the thing about it is that it's very, it's very conversational. We can talk about what's going on. It's not a formal, we're going to just solve everything today. It's okay. Like, where can we start? Like, what are we going to do to be able to refer you to those resources that we need and continue this conversation over time? So these are ongoing relationships. And then my last one here, refer. Always just refer to our office. We are going to be able to help that student. And if we can't, we are going to make the referral to someone who can. And so if you don't know what to do, refer them to our office. Come with them here. Give them our information. Make a report online, which I'm about to show you. If you want to be anonymous, make a report online. There are so many different ways that you can refer people to our office, connect them with our office. And so there's always that opportunity. And so with that, I'll show you how to connect with our office. I'll come back to this in just a second. This is my email. So if anyone wants to connect with me directly, please feel free to. I'm happy to receive any emails, talk to you about anything, talk to you over the phone. This is our phone number. It'll go to our general office. You can talk with any of our case managers. Almost always someone is available to talk to you or at least call you back within the day. This is our email. It's monitored throughout 8 to 5 business hours. We can respond to you that way. That's our email. That's our website. And on that website, there's going to be a big red button that looks like this one. It's called Report a Concern. It's going to take you to a form. You can put in all your information and talk and report the concern there. Again, if you want to be anonymous, that is fine. You can report anonymously there. We do prefer that you don't do it anonymously so that we can connect with you and ask you important questions that may give us more context into helping that student. If we call you and you say, hey, I didn't really tell so-and-so that I was going to report this to your office, I don't want them to be mad at me, that's fine. We don't have to tell them who it was that reported. We're not going to say, Jackie Phillips told us that you were acting out of character in the group me. No, but if we need to report it, if we need a concern that needs to be reported, then I can check in and make sure that Jackie gives me all the information that I need. And then lastly, we're located in Tate. We can still meet in person. We have a conference room where we can social distance. And so if in person is more of your thing, great, bring your mask and stop by. We are located on the 3rd floor. We are across from Starbucks, so pretty easy to find. So there is multiple ways to get in touch with us. You can almost always grab one of us to sit down and chat with. And so going back to my earlier slide, you as a student here at the University of Georgia and you as a student leader are an integral part of building a community of care amongst your organization and within our university. You all are our key players. You're the reason that we're here. You're the reason that we do our jobs. And we want to help you be successful. And we want to help you promote success, well-being, welfare in your organization. And so I'm so happy that Jackie invited me here to share a little bit about our office, about student care and outreach, about how you can connect your peers and the individuals in your organization to the people here that can help them thrive and be successful. So I appreciate you all having me. I'll toss it back to Jackie. Sorry for that technical issue with the YouTube in the middle, but I hope you all enjoyed the presentation. Please reach out if you have questions. I guess I can take questions now as well if you guys have any, or just reach out to me via email.
Thanks so much, Ansley. If anyone has any questions, feel free to send those in the chat. I'll be fielding them and sharing those out to Ansley. Or if you're watching the recording of this on our YouTube, feel free to reach out to Ansley or the Student Care and Outreach email if this sparks any questions or concerns. They're more than happy to assist whenever, as Ansley mentioned. But Ansley, one of the questions we received throughout this presentation is, I think going back to one of the earlier points of how to create that balance between care and accountability. Do you have any tips for students as they're working with other members of their organization of how to have some of those tough conversations to show that they care, but also maybe hold someone accountable?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that always coming from a perspective of care first. So, hey, I notice you haven't really been pulling your weight. And that's really impacting our overall organization. But I've also, noticed that you've been withdrawn, you haven't really been engaging. And so I just want to check in. Are you okay? Is there something going on that maybe might be part of the greater story here? So that's the primary thing. And then if the student does come back and say, yeah, actually my mental health hasn't been too well and I've just not been able to engage with a care provider because I don't have the funds to do so. Okay, great. Let's make a referral to student care and outreach. And then after that, let's have a conversation about your role here at within our organization. So it might look like, hey, you know what? I'm really concerned for you. And you said that you're struggling with anxiety and you want to go see a therapist. Maybe it takes some time away from the organization. Maybe you can step down for a little bit. Or maybe there's a conversation that you can have with your advisor of the student organization and say, hey, such and such has disclosed to me that this is what's going on. Do you think that there is someone else that can hold their position or roles or responsibilities right now while we get them the help that they need? And so I think primarily ask for their well-being, ask about their well-being first, and then talk to the student, involve the student in those conversations. So don't make them feel like you're going behind their back and want to take away their position, unless it, obviously always involve your advisor in that conversation. But the best thing, in my opinion, is to involve the student in the conversation and say, we are mostly concerned about your well-being. And if you aren't going to be able to be successful in taking care of yourself and succeeding in your academics, then we don't want to add this to your plate. So what can we do to hold you accountable? Because we know you're still passionate about this organization, but we also need to make sure you're taking care of yourself. So I think as long as you're involving the student of concern in those conversations, involving your advisor, I think that you'll be able to navigate that conversation successfully.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And then another question we received in the chat is, how can student organizations help promote student care and outreach to their members?
Absolutely. So I would say you can invite us to present in your organization. We do these presentations all the time, so we're always happy to come and talk to your organization. You can talk about them yourself, you can show our website at organizational meeting. Maybe you just tag it on to the end, check in around midterms or the beginning of the semester, almost like a syllabus, right? Like at the beginning of the semester, we kind of talk about like, what are the resources? Maybe you do that at the beginning, and then you check in at the midterms, like, hey, I know that we are focused on X and X event that's coming up, but just so you know, this resource is here for you. And you can always kind of think about, depending on what your organization is, if there's more stressful times, whether that's like surrounding an event, or if your organization's identity based and there's something going on, bring this up, because these are conversations that most of the time will lead to further conversations, and you're like, oh, we're all feeling this. Maybe it's something like student care and outreach needs to come in and have a conversation with you all about, you're all feeling this way about an event or something like that. So I think just bringing it up, making it almost like a buzzword of like, student care and outreach, they're here for you. And it's like, in my venue, you can never overtell, you can never overshare. So just share them about, as the leader, continue to share about our office, because that might like encourage students more often than not to go ahead and go, because they're going to know that their organizational leader is still comfortable going.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think another thing too student organizations can do is share student care and outreach's student social media posts.
Yeah.
So share their Instagram things to your own stories, because every student org has a different audience. And so you're not only going to be attracting the members, but also potential new members. And so this can help spread the word of the different resources too.
Yeah, Jackie, that's a really good point. Our Instagram is fairly new, and so I'm forgetting to always put that in the presentation. But yes, please share our Instagram. We're trying to get on there. We are talking about different resources. We're talking about different reminders. So like withdrawal deadline, whatever it was, we're going to promote that. We're going to promote other organizations. So we post ELS stuff all the time, so people know where to get involved. So definitely give us a follow, and definitely share stuff on your story. We would love that.
We'll give it another minute. If there's any other questions, feel free to send those in the chat. And as we just give it a second, I also wanted to share at our next student organization Zoom series. So that will be this upcoming Monday, November 9th at 4 p.m. once again, and we'll be focusing on assessing organization culture. So providing some tools on how to evaluate your current organization's culture and then how to move forward. So definitely join us then, or come back to the YouTube later in the week to watch that recording. But it doesn't look like there's any other questions. We'll give it just a few more seconds. But thank you again, Ansley, for being here, for providing this great information and these resources. And as always, feel free to reach out to Ansley or Student Care and Outreach if you have any concerns or if you have any questions. But thanks again, Ansley. We appreciate you being here.
You're welcome, Jackie. Have a great day, everyone.